Okay, part 4 and the final part of this tractor series, because this one won't wrap up until I'm running around on the lawn with this thing. Quick summary: garbage pick tractor, engine, all that good stuff. Got to make it run. Been bumping into various problems. View my other 3 videos about those. The problem we ran into last time was that this pulley bearing is gone, toast, and there's just no freeing it up. Visit my local Napa Auto Parts and got one that's pretty close. It was cheap enough though. I think it was $5. And it's a little bit different. It's a V-groove, and obviously it's not as flat, but I think it's going to work, so we're going to put it in there. Now, plowing through all my other parts to make this video, found another deck bearing, which is identical to this bearing here. So if this doesn't work out, because it's not quite as tall, I think it'll be fine. But if it doesn't work out, then I'll pry this bearing out. This wheel's too big. Shove it in here and we'll redo it, but I think this will be fine. So now we got to bolt it in underneath this sucker. So here we are. I got to put my pulley right here. You can see the belt, and I got to put the park brake on because it's squishing against the belt to give it tension. So I'm not going to do that while I'm under it. It's on jack stand, so hold on a sec. The bearing hole in this pulley is a little bit bigger, but because it generally clamps the pulley, or I should say the bearing on the outside, it shouldn't be too much of a big deal. But the size may be an issue, and if that is the case, then I'll have to go ahead and do a bearing swap on the other set of pulleys. But I think ultimately in operation this will be just fine. So the parking brake's on, so the belt is lapsed. I gotta bolt these up now, and I gotta remember how big that nut is so I can make sure the belt doesn't come off. So let me go figure that out, and I'll be right back. Okay, I knew I had to pull the battery for some reason. To access these bolts that keep the belt tight, or at least on the pulley, they have a nut here, or I should say the bolt end here, and a nut on the other end here. It's much easier to get them from up above, and that's where the battery lives. So I'm going to tighten these up. Alrighty, so I've got these beams are now on tight again, and like I said, it's just essentially a long bolt with a nut on top here that bolts to the sheet metal. Someone had mentioned clean this off. I will as soon as I can make sure this thing even works, because if I have to rebuild it, then heck, I might as well clean it then. My pulley's here. Of course, here it is under tension. If I apply the park brake, you can see how it releases tension and then goes back on again. I think it'll work for now. It's going to be hard on the pulley. It's going to be hard on the belt. But for the purposes of even making sure this tractor works, it'll be fine. And I'll do something about the rest later. So with that, the transmission's good to go. And the motor's good to go. I don't have a seat on it yet, or steering wheel or anything like that. But now I can at least test the drivetrain and see if the transmission will shift. Whoops, I'm zooming in. Sorry about that. At least check to see if the transmission shifts and runs. And if it does, then we'll put a seat on it. Alright, for the purposes of testing, I just threw the battery back in it. Haven't done anything to the motor except put all the covering back on it. It is in neutral. I gotta put the park brake on. There we go. So that's it. Wide open throttle so I get choke. We'll let it idle a little bit. We learned in the last video that it idles real nice. So let it warm up a little bit, pollute myself in the garage here, and then we'll try to see what the transaxle will do. I got it up on jack stands and block. Hopefully it'll spin. If so, then we'll drop it on the ground, put a seat on it, and have some fun. it works. So I'm going to throw the seat on it. We're going to go outside before it gets too dark and I can't film. Alright, the seat's on. I found all the hardware for it. It's just a hinge. This can slide back and forth and a big spring on the bottom. Pure comfort if you ask me. It's our motor. Found some water in the gas tank, so I drained it and refilled it with gas. It looks a lot better now. And with that, park brake on, key on. Hopefully it won't spark under my butt. And let's see if I can get it. Started. I call that almost as successful as you could imagine. Now, of course, I forgot to put my little cotter pin in the tie rod in there, so it let go when I was over there in the corner. So I had to stop it there. And then about 2 minutes later after running, it stalled and would not start again. So I'm thinking we might have gotten some water in the fuel filter. We probably still have water in the carburetor. And by its running characteristics, got to do something there, adjustments, and I'm gonna get it a throttle cable that's legitimate, because what's happening is you pull it and see, like right now it stays fine, but as it goes on it likes to shut itself closed because of the governor and such. So I definitely need a pivoting unit instead of just this. This was just some parts we had laying around. So we got some work to do on the engine, but to finalize this video up, let's put the dash on it, put the hood on it, make it look like a tractor again. Alright, the last bit of the puzzle. This was just a temporary thing. Just put a little screw here for the throttle. Took the steering wheel off it again. It's pretty much a pressure fit. In other words, you bolt that sucker on tight and it'll grip the steering shaft so it won't go anywhere. And the little black collar actually is a bearing. Just keeps the shaft where it needs to be. And at one time it also used the, held the PTO, which we're not even going to bother with this time. I got some bolts over here. I'm pretty sure they're on the floor somewhere that hold this side panel on to help keep the tank in. And bolt those up, then put the black cover on, which is over here. I don't think I showed you. Here are the crap load of various levers and parts. I think my hood support's in here too. And that's pretty much just held on with pins. Remember, it's still got its original price tag, and I'm not sure if you can see that, but home quarters, 12.5 horse, 40-inch deck, $858. So, and I gotta bolt that thing in too. I don't want it jumping around, especially when that positive terminal doesn't get rubbed up on the, covered up on the terminal there. Done. I bolted on my dash. It's mostly bolted on through here. There's some other screws I didn't bother putting in. And there's just a big pin that goes through there, and you work it in from one side then the other, and you drop a pin in here. Close the hood. It's a tractor again, and it even has a cutout for the exhaust, almost, on that side, which will dump fumes in the engine compartment. That'll be fun. But we've got a tractor now, so I'll work on the runnability of it a little bit, hook up the generator so it'll charge its own battery. Do some carburetor work, make it purr like a kitten, but the next video hopefully will be of getting a plow on this thing.